Welcome to the Freelance Unlocked Behind the Scenes series, where I'm showcasing the amazing people who will be at the Freelance Unlocked Conference, the first and the best conference for freelancers that is made with love, and it'll take place in Berlin on May 14th, 15th, 2025. If you are a freelancer in Europe, it's an event made for you to learn, exchange experiences, and build your network of great freelancers and experts who move the freelance economy forward. So go to freelanceunlocked.com and grab your ticket right away. My name is Yuri. I'm a community builder at Freelance Unlocked, and my guest is Zsike Peter, the founder of Vampire Digital, a boutique content marketing agency, owner and the creator of ThinkBait, a movement challenging the right of clickbait and AI-generated content, and just a great person to learn from. So, hello, Zsike.
Hi, Yuri. Thank you so much for having me. Nice to see you
Always
again.
happy to talk to you. Always. Can't wait to meet you in real life and talk even more. But for now, tell me a little bit about your freelance journey.
So where do I start? A long, long time ago. No, it started when I was about 16, when I started writing professionally, dabbling with investigative journalism. As you know, there's a story about me sneaking into a Hungarian brothel to write an expose, and getting a gig with a local media studio, through writing about a red pen, which was the challenge, kind of like an exam, so to say. And through that exam, I got a position to write for the local newspaper, as well as became a youth TV and radio presenter. Fast forward many years, ended up in the UK as an au pair because I wanted to learn English, and I decided to stay. And here I started as a freelancer probably 8 years ago. Yeah, that's about 8 years ago. And I was a lone freelancer minding my own business and not really thinking about owning a proper business. But a few years later, my LinkedIn started blowing up a bit, and now we have a team of 10 freelancers working with Vampire Digital clients. We specialize in ghostwriting, content copywriting, audience building. My speciality is LinkedIn, but the team covers everything else. So we are now a multi-channel agency, not just writing, but producing media content, video content, building audiences, building brands.
It's interesting you mentioned that you are already the third successful freelance entrepreneur who I've met who told that they didn't have even an idea to own an agency or to work with it. They just were just thinking of starting freelance. And I feel like that's how your story unfolds. It's like you start at some point and then you're moving, and then you are just growing. So and then now you also are a speaker at Freelance Unlocked, which is amazing. So give me a sneak peek into what exactly you'll be talking about on the Freelance Unlocked stage.
Right. So I think the prelude of this, what helps me getting noticed more recently is ThinkBait, right? And I think to explain how I came up with ThinkBait is one day I was writing a rage post, which was all about how fed up I was with all the nonsense clickbait content, and I was thinking, I want the reader who is scrolling their feed, I want them to stop and think, so they're not baited into clicking and there's just empty fluff. So I thought, oh, not clickbait, ThinkBait. And so that's how ThinkBait was born. And it's basically just it's a movement against all the AI flavored porridge that's all over the internet right now. But at the Freelance Unlocked, I'm going to be pulling back the curtain on the AI copy crisis, basically, and what freelancers need to know to really stay relevant, trusted, and legally safe, because that's one of the dangers that we are. The water is really murky at the moment in terms of what's intellectual property and how do we tell it apart. And really, ChatGPT, for example, can't tell you if it's lifted that from somebody else's already existing work. So we're going to get into the murky ethical and legal waters of AI generated content. But also, I will be touching on how we use these tools well with originality, strategy, actual thought. So yes, there will be a few sharp lines and sentences from me because I am criticizing how people are using large language models, but also Pandora's box is already open. It's not going back. So we do need to know how these tools work, but we need to use them cautiously while still keeping our humanity in the process.
What's just one common misunderstanding that freelancers have when it comes to using AI in their content creation?
I believe most freelancers think that AI will save them time, but it really doesn't, unless you're happy to produce forgettable fluff, right? Because so AI can give you a really good but rough starting point, but it needs a brain, it needs your brain, it needs a filter, and it needs a human voice behind it. So the danger is if you're skipping those steps, what you're really saving is not time, it's quality. And that will come back to bite you in the backside, in the neck, wherever.
Save yourself not time, but save yourself quality. And I feel
Right.
like it's also in this way, if you are not using your brain and your mind, you are kind of like going into this loop of decreasing and decreasing and decreasing and decreasing. At some point, like, yeah, it's just yellow pages or whatever. Just
And
with
and then
just some.
that's right. And then you also start sounding like ChatGPT in your everyday communications. And this is already being observed. I've been doing some interviews, some research for my book, and the academics that I've spoken with have already noticed that some of the students who over rely on using large language models are now starting to sound like ChatGPT, even without using ChatGPT. So that's dangerous.
Yeah, you never
That's
know. You never know what will happen in 5 years. But okay, for now, how do you personally balance the convenience of AI tools with the need to stay original and moreover legally safe?
wow. I guess, we have to apply critical thinking skills here, right? Because you won't know if you are plagiarizing somebody's work because AI can lift a whole sentence. It can just lift a very specific combination of words that is somebody's IP that they might have trademarked, protected it, and you're unaware of it. So really you have to change everything that AI writes for you. The majority of it you have to change. And then by the time you do that and heavily re-edit it, you spend more time doing it. So it comes down to earning trust and authority. And if you think if you're writing for clients with AI, they may not spot it at first, but the majority of the readers, audiences, once that content is posted, they do, even if they can't tell why. And this has been measured. AI written content has a smell. Let's say it that way. It lacks edge, nuance, and it's risky, whilst human written content carries opinion or contradiction, has a story, and that's how you build trust. If you're writing for a thought leader, for example, the last thing they need is the same regurgitated blog post their competitors have also published. Imagine that. So you have to remember that authority comes from point of view, your point of view, and AI can't fake that.
Like at some point, there will be most likely there are already tools that are checking if there is the same sentences were already posted somewhere. But I feel like it will be really, really growing, to ensure that
Yeah.
it's not plagiat and that it's so. When someone is using ChatGPT and or any LLM system, whatever, and do not do any editings, what are some red flags you see in AI generated content, and what can freelancers do to avoid falling into this trap?
Right. Where do I start? I would say sentences that sound like were written in a committee meeting, in a large corporate meeting, or really hyper generic optimism, buzzwords. Every second sentence has some crazy corporate buzzwords. But I think the most important, where you can tell if it's AI generated copy, there is no strong point of view. It just lacks that passion, that personal angle. And there will be structures as well, like it will say this isn't X, it's Y. There's so many of these like formulaic structures, and people can tell now. So it's just it will damage your brand. It's embarrassing. So I think those traps, if you can re-edit those and give it really specific prompts based on your own previous work, it helps then to generate something that's a bit closer to how you would write. But even that needs editing, right? So I think the lesson is that if what you've written could apply to any business, it won't resonate with anyone. It won't resonate with none. So the antidote to that is voice, specificity, and ruthless editing. If it doesn't punch, provoke, or persuade, you need to cut it.
No. And I feel like everyone who's listening now, I'm like, what should I do? Anyway, so, I'll also have this a little bit of seeing this overuse of long dashes. And I had this funny story when there was one person posted on LinkedIn, a friend of mine, who like, are people telling that if I'm using long dashes, I'm like ChatGPT in it? I were using them forever. It's like ChatGPT copied me,
I love it.
But always like if it's long dash, most likely it's ChatGPT in copy, and also like overuse of capital letters, like everywhere, capital letter
Yeah.
everywhere in every title. So
Yeah,
crazy.
it's annoying about the em dashes or and dashes. So it's em dash, which is the long dash we're talking about, is that the American style of instead of using commas, and ChatGPT uses it a lot more often instead of commas. But en dashes, which is more like the British version of using those sort of stop gaps between not sentences but parts of sentences. It's slightly shorter and it has a gap at the front and at the end. Those are the ones I use because of my journalistic past. But I always do make a point that using correct grammar is not necessarily a sign of using AI. It's the fact that the copy has no soul. That's when you can tell somebody's used AI.
So, what advice would you give to a freelancer who are just starting experimenting with AI tools, with LLMs for personal and client work?
Sure. I would say treat it like your assistant, like a junior assistant, but not a professional copywriter or ghostwriter. So it can help you speed up generating ideas or restructure, maybe a messy brief that your client sent you or you want to send it to someone, organizing your thoughts, doing some work at a basic strategic level, right? It's great for that. But you need to learn what makes your voice yours, uniquely yours, what makes a piece resonate, how to make things sound like someone else as well, right? If you're writing for your clients, for example, I know not all freelancers write for other clients, but most people think they should write how they speak, but that's not always the case. So in that case, you need to make it sound like somebody else, not like you, because people read written content differently than when they listen to someone talk, right? We process that information in a different manner. So if you can make things sound like someone, like a real person, that's what clients are paying for. And an AI just doesn't come with intuition or your lived experiences.
I feel like also it's the hardest part to ensure that the message you want to spread is the message that people will take. Because even, when you are texting with a friend and they are just, I don't know, sharing some joke, but forget to add an emoji or something like that, and you're like, why are you telling this to me? Because you are not reading this message in their voice, with their thoughts, with their intention. Like you have your personal emotions, you have your personal feelings in this moment. Like, why are you telling? Like it was just a joke. So, from your professional experience about writing, if you told that people have to find their own voice, so for someone who's not a writer, but who really wants to start sharing their thoughts and to have strong opinions and to articulate them clearly, what is the smallest step they can do in this direction?
So that I would say there are two elements here. One, read and read often and a variety of books, because the best writers become the best writers because they read constantly. And that just really feeds your vocabulary, your creative muscles, the way your brain makes connections by recognizing certain word combinations and remembering it intuitively, right? So you cannot become a good writer if you don't read regularly. It's just not really possible, because you have to use language in a different way to be able to then use it in writing. And by using in a different way, I mean actively consuming material written from good and bad writers, so you can tell the difference. And also different genres, so fiction, non-fiction, all of that, right? And in fact, I would say, even if you want to become a great business writer for your business or for your client's business, reading fiction can really fuel that. And then the next step, start writing consistently, even if you don't publish it. I would say it's from somebody who's never consistently written, it takes about 6 months to find your voice, to find your confidence, to find your stride when it comes to writing confidently. But start posting it as well. Some people will be embarrassed, but actually, no one cares about our own content as much as we do. Really, no one does. We are just selfish beings. I can give you an example. Take a group photo when you're out, and then you look at the photos. Who's the first person you look at in the photo? Yourself, right? No one
Exactly.
cares about us as much as we do. So start posting it, and you can monitor your progress. And you can look back how your posts, how your content looked 6 months ago, and you'll feel so much better about your writing progress.
Zsike, I wish to have the sky's the limit, but time is the limit. So the final
Yep.
question,
Yeah.
what is your quick take on the freelance economy and how it will develop in the near future?
Wow. Yeah, that's it's quite a, I want to say, a heavy question. We it feels like we are in a boom phase, but also a reckoning, because AI has really flooded the market with cheap output, essentially. So the value of thinking, strategy, and the craft, I feel it's quietly rising, actually, because clients are learning that more content is not the answer. Better content is the answer. So the freelancers who thrive will be the ones who think like consultants, like humans, and not task takers. So I feel there is a massive opportunity here if, as a freelancer, you're brave enough to specialize and stand out.
It's a great moment if you are ready for that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, like, why are you freelancing? So,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
what would you say to your friend if they asked you whether they should go to the Freelance Unlocked?
Okay. If you want to grow your business, without being talked at by tech bros or falling asleep, then go, because I feel like this is a different kind of event. So if you want to actually connect with people who get what you do and maybe get a little fire under you, like fire in your belly, then go. And I would say the worst case, you leave with a notebook full of ideas. Best case, your next collaboration, client, or a business breakthrough. Go.
Totally. And what is the best way to connect with you even before the conference?
As you know, I live my life on LinkedIn. Not much outside of LinkedIn, but yes, I'm on LinkedIn every day, posting, commenting, because I need to know that environment inside out. It's my speciality. So it's on my posts, in my DMs, and other people posts as well, because I like networking on LinkedIn.
Got it, Zsike. Thank you so much for this valuable conversation even before the conference. And I can't wait to learn even more and meet you in real life very, very soon.
Likewise, I can't wait. We definitely have to meet up outside of the conference too. Thank you so
Totally.
much.
Thank you very much. And for those who listen, I hope you learn from Zsike's experience and say thank you to her in person at the Freelance Unlocked Conference on May 14th, 15th, 2025 in Berlin. So go to freelanceunlocked.com, grab your ticket, and meet you there.